Going to be a little bit different. In honor of my late brother Jason Goicuria, I'm going to be discussing and reviewing the 1998 animated classic from Japan, Akira. Before I get into that, though, a little bit about my brother. My brother Jason Goicuria was 4 years younger than me and passed away last year at the age of 49 years old, or excuse me, 48 years old, after a long illness. My brother and I were different people. I think he was more introverted. I was definitely more extroverted. And the two things that we did share, though, was a love of movies and a love of sports. I like to think that hopefully my influence of movies and sports kind of rubbed off on him, and he kind of took it as well. I think hopefully that's true. I don't know how true or not true it is, but we both shared that love. And I thought as a good way to commemorate my brother would be to review one of his favorite movies. It's been a hard year, ups and downs, as anyone that can relate that has lost to someone close to them. There are days of extreme sadness, days of remembrance, days of happiness, and when you think about that person and what they meant in your life, and the hardest for me has been, dealing with the fact that my younger brother is not here anymore, and that he passed away at an age that's way too young, and that he should still be here. So that's where my biggest struggle is, and seeing how my mom, of course, heartbroken about it, and she's had her ups and downs as well too. But knowing the love my mom has for both myself and my brother, it's hard to see her suffer that as well. So that's tough, and it's been difficult. At least through that, though, the bright side is, hearing from friends of his that he was close to, because Jason was a very quiet person. Didn't, he lived his life very privately, very quietly, and to kind of get that insight into what kind of friend he was, learning that thing after he passed away was something that was incredibly heartwarming to hear, and made me extremely happy. So it was definitely something I was happy to hear about, and like I said, when you're living your life, you just don't imagine, your sibling passing away and not being a part of your life. Like I said, I think we all, as we grow up and as we grow older, we know our parents at some point are going to pass away. And everybody does, of course, but it's my brother and I figured we would have a long time left on this earth before either one of us passed away, and unfortunately, that was not to be, and that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So again, my brother was a big fan of comic books and also a big fan of Japanese animation. Which is a genre I don't really know too much about, or really are not much into. But Akira is the exception in the fact that that was what he described as one of the best animated films ever made, one of his favorite movies, and of course it's a classic of Japanese animation. And I saw the film a long time ago, probably in the early 90s, with him. I don't remember a lot of it, or even if I really paid attention when I was watching it. So when I rewatched it for this podcast, it was basically like a first watch for me. And I thought it was an appropriate way for me to honor my brother in this year after his passing, and just kind of have that reminder of something that we shared, that we love, which was movies, even though this particular movie is not a genre that I particularly dive into or am a fan of per se. But forgive me if it's not going to be as smooth a review as I usually do. I'm still, like I said, I've been trying for a few weeks to record this, and it's been an emotional time for me to try to do it, but I wanted to really get this done and get it out there. So the opening of Akira is in 1988. World War III is triggered, resulting in the complete destruction of Tokyo, Japan. And then the movie picks up immediately in 2019, so 30 years later. You have what's called Neo Tokyo, which is basically a dystopian version of Tokyo, run by corrupt government, and basically where there's violence in the streets. And you meet the main character of Canada, who is a head of a motorcycle gang, and his sidekick Tetsuo and a couple of members of his gang. The film opens with a motorcycle fight battle with a clown gang, which is beautifully staged and beautifully directed. So it's like any live action. It's beautifully done, and the director and writer is Katsuhiro Otomo, who actually was the writer of the original manga, Japanese manga of Akira. Even though, from what I've read, the film deviates greatly from the original manga. And like I said, I haven't read that, so I don't know the manga. But he is the writer and director of Akira, or as I see it in the film, they pronounce it Akira. But I'll probably say Akira for the rest of the review. So again, back to that opening sequence with the battle with the clown gang. So what happens is, as a result of this fight, or this, this battle, Tetsuo crashes into Takashi, who is, we learn, is an Esper, or someone with ESP. He escaped from a government laboratory, and Tetsuo is hospitalized after this accident because he's injured pretty badly. And while in this laboratory, the doctor there discovers that Tetsuo has also psychic abilities. And these abilities that he has are very similar to Akira. So Akira is a legendary figure, is that basically he is the one with psychic abilities that was the cause of the destruction of Tokyo in 1988. So the film talks about that. The film basically says that Akira was killed in this battle in 1988, but there are people that think that he is still alive. And what we subsequently find out is that he has been cryogenically frozen. They kept him alive, but obviously they feel he was a danger because they blame him with destroying Tokyo. So Tetsuo is basically imprisoned in this hospital, and Canada wants to get him out. So there's a plot to try to get him out. He ends up hooking up with a resistance group, and they are trying to, figure out what's going on, resisting the government, trying to get to an overthrow of the government. So they go undercover, infiltrate the hospital to try to break Tetsuo out. Now Tetsuo is dealing with these new psychic abilities that he has as a result of the accident, and in a beautiful scene, there's other Espers in the hospital with psychic abilities that are threatened by Tetsuo and don't want him there. So they basically create a hallucination in hopes of killing Tetsuo. Now there's a beautifully animated scene, one of the highlights of the movie, where the hallucination takes place and you see the visuals and what's going on, and they're basically trying to push Tetsuo to hurt himself or kill himself, or thinking that he's going to die. And it's beautifully, the visuals are unbelievable. Like I said, it's one of the highlights of the movie. And as the movie, goes towards its climax, they get into the hospital, but Tetsuo is not willing to go as a friend. He's different now. So what's happened is these abilities have heightened his issues that he's had with Canada before the motorcycle chase. So Canada and Tetsuo basically have which I would call a big brother, little brother relationship. And of course, with that dynamic, there's good and there's bad. So basically, Tetsuo feels like he's never taken seriously, never considered to be a leader, patronized by Canada, even though they're close. That is there. So these abilities that he has amplifies those issues to the point where he understands that, wait a minute, I have power now. I don't need you to tell me. I don't need you to help me. And there's a break there because of that. So that's the main plot, and that's the main thing that keeps the plot moving forward to a climax where we find out what happens to all the characters. We find out how Akira fits into all of that, because we find out he's cryogenically frozen. and they keep him actually under a football stadium, and what happens there, and then how all of those stories kind of connect towards the end of the film. And I'm not going to give away too much about what happens. The ending is actually really, I like the way it ended. It was very, very well done. But watching Akira, to give it, give you examples, if you're not a fan, if you don't really know the movie, you're not a fan of Japanese animation, it almost had like a Blade Runner feel to me. Like I said, you've got a dystopian future, government control things, corruption, violence, kind of all those things that you see in Blade Runner. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. Even though I'm not, if you've listened to this podcast, I'm not a huge fan of Blade Runner. I actually have to rewatch it again. I happen to be one of those people that think Blade Runner is overrated, but Akira was very, very entertaining from beginning to end. And like I said, you've got wonderful animation. And one thing I wanted to bring up, because this is something I think people that don't even know Akira would know. There's an iconic image in the film, and this happens early in the motorcycle chase, where Canada slides his motorcycle on the road, and you get that cool slide where he slides his whole bicycle, and the camera is facing him, looking at the camera, and then the bike is slid and comes to a stop. It's basically a couple of second image, but it's become an iconic image. Apparently it's called the Akira slide, and I've seen it in other films. So obviously this film has directly influenced visuals for other movies. And like I said, the poster, actually one of the favorite gifts I brought my brother, because he was not one to want gifts per se, and he was a tough person to get gifts for. But I got him a framed poster of the Akira when they re-released it, I think in the late 90s. I got him that framed poster. It's one of the favorite gifts I've ever gotten him. I think and he loved it. He hung it up and he had it. And it's something that it's one of my favorite gifts that I gave to him, because I think he really loved it. And that image is iconic. And even if you don't know Akira, you probably have seen that image somewhere, either on a meme or on some other show. But that's an iconic thing. The music, the score of Akira, I love too. I didn't look up who the composer was, but the score is really good. I watched both the dubbed version and the undubbed version. It was easier to watch the dubbed version for me, so I can keep up with the story, as opposed to reading. And usually I can read it pretty good, but it was easier just to kind of enjoy the visuals and listen to them speaking in English, so I can understand the story. So most of the time I watch stuff in the original language with subtitles. But with this, especially as quickly as the story moved, it was easier for me to watch it dubbed. And the voice work was actually pretty good. And actually, like I said, I can enjoy the visuals and still hear the story without having to do both and trying to keep up and do that. So for me, it was good. If you prefer it, like I said, you can, they have both versions of it, the dubbed version and the subtitle version. But for me, like I said, the dubbed version was much easier to watch. And the story comes quickly. I mean, it's a simple story per se, but there's a lot happening between the characters, the dynamics, the action that takes place in the movie, and it comes fast and furious, which means there's no lulls in the film. So it's fantastic how it flows. Really, really great how the movie flows. And like I said, it goes to that climax between Tetsuo and Canada, that battle / whatever happens there when you find out, and then how Akira plays into all of that as well. So it's a very ambitious film. It tells us, you get strands of it. Now, not every story is fleshed out, but I mean, you get the corrupt government angle, how they really don't care about anybody else other than keeping the power that they have and the financial security that they have. So it's great in telling that story. The brother story between Tetsuo and Canada is a great story as well. You have Kel, who is the resistance leader that Canada hooks up with to get into the laboratory to try to get Tetsuo out. Their dynamic is very entertaining as well, because Canada is very cocky, very confident. He tries to hit on Kel. She's not having any of it. And it's funny to see her kind of put him in his place, but he still maintains his cockiness throughout the whole movie. That character is entertaining, as the lead. And it's well done. So, very entertaining movie. Like I said, if you're not a fan of Japanese animation, I think this is a good one to watch, just to even dip your toe in to see if you would, do a one and done or kind of dip in further. Personally, for me, I don't know if I'm going to watch any other Japanese animated films. Like I said, it's not something that I really gravitate towards, but I'm happy I saw this one, because like I said, it's extremely entertaining. And I'm going to say this to people that are not familiar with this is not a kids movie. It is an animated film. It is not a kids movie. It is rated R, and it is rated R for a good reason. There's graphic violence throughout. There's themes that are not for kids. There is a drug use in the sense of there's a pill that people take that they get addicted to. So yeah, this is not for kids. It's an adult animated film, and I'm just putting that out there. Anybody that's seen Akira or knows Japanese animation, this is not news to them. Just throwing that out there though, because I'm watching, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But like I said, it's well done. It's very entertaining. It's beautifully animated. And beautifully directed. The thing that's impressive, it's always impressive to me with directors, whether it's animated or not. And I think I'm correct here. I think this is his first film that he's directed. So obviously he's a great writer, wrote the manga. But when you come in and direct, even though it's his own material, which is helpful, it looks like it's directed by a seasoned director, and it's impressive. I don't know if he's done anything after that. I didn't look that up. But it's pretty impressive when you come out of the gate not doing this before and create an epic Japanese animated film that becomes iconic. So that's, for Otomo, that's very, very impressive. So I definitely took note of that and was blown away by the technical marvel that this film is. And considering it came out in 1988, it looks phenomenal. You've got the hand drawn. I mean, it looks it's a great looking movie. A fantastic film in that regard. And again, I think that's enough of the plot to give you. I think it sets a good stage for you to watch the movie if you want. Like I said, the third act is really, really entertaining. And there's some emotional moments at the end of the film about things that happen. And it's really, really well done. And the character arcs are done, well, especially Canada. And like I said, it's an entertaining film. It's a serious movie, and it's not, like I said, there's moments of brevity in the film, especially like I said in Canada's cockiness, that lighten the movie a little bit to enough where you enjoy it still. But it tackles big themes, government corruption, hiding things that are powerful, because obviously Akira is responsible for the destruction of Tokyo, but instead of, killing him, quote unquote, they keep him alive because, and it's funny because I watch a film like Oppenheimer and I watch Akira, and it's funny because when movies talk about human nature is the things that can destroy us, we want to keep them around though, that power, because it's the power of destruction that is either alluring or something that we always want to have access to in the event we think we need it. And I think this film does a really good job of showing that visually, where Akira is responsible for the destruction of Tokyo, yet instead of destroying it completely so that something like that wouldn't happen again, they freeze Akira and then have this laboratory where they're studying these other children that have this power, even though they already know what this power unleashed has done. Then it's just that dance that we do with, keeping things that are powerful enough to destroy us and not learning from our mistakes, and not going by the old adage that history repeats itself. And this movie tackles those themes very well, and makes the movie extremely interesting to watch. So on my star review, I'm going to give Akira 4 stars out of 5. On my scale, that's a rewatchable movie. I don't know if I'll revisit it again, but I think if you're a fan of Japanese animation, you've seen the movie. So I'd be shocked if you haven't. If you're not a fan of Japanese animation, as I said a few minutes ago, I think it's a movie worth checking out. It's a good dip your toe in the water, because like I said, it's an ambitious, epic. It feels epic. Because people say, oh, it's an epic film, then you watch it. The scale that this story is told on visually and storytelling wise is epic. So it feels like an epic animated film, which is why it has, I think it's well-deserved iconic status as one of the greatest, not only Japanese animated films, but maybe one of the greatest animated films. I understand why it has that legacy, because it does. It feels epic. and it unfolds that way, and it's fantastic to watch. So it was very entertaining. So again, I'm going to give Akira 4 stars out of 5. So as I wrap up this show, again, not going to do the normal plugs for the show, other than the QR codes up there. You know what I always say, and you know where to find the show. So I'm not going to really get into that for this episode. Again, I just want to wrap up with my brother, Jason Goicuria. I want to say thank you. And I said it at the time, and it's been a year. But again, I want to thank everyone that reached out to me publicly or privately when my brother passed away, with their condolences, with their good thoughts. Both my mother and my family appreciate that very much, and it helped a lot. So I want to say that again, even though a year has been by, every person that commented when I posted about his passing and that reached out to me either there or, like I said, personally, it meant the world to me. So I appreciate that. And you get reflective on your life when things like this happen. And what I would say to anybody out there is, if you have a relative or a friend or a family member that you haven't communicated with in a long time, for whatever reason, daily life, maybe there was an issue or a falling out. And look, I don't know everybody's situation, and I know it's unfortunately been very common in the last few years for people to have falling outs with close friends and family members over a variety of different things. I'm not immune to that either, so I don't speak in a place from where nothing like that's ever happened to me. But what I would like to say is, if there's any hope of a reconciliation or a chance to reconnect, please do that. When it comes to my brother and myself, we had our ups and downs in our relationship. And before he got sick, my hope was to have him be more present in the lives of my kids, his nephew and his niece. And my goal was to try to make that happen on a more consistent basis. And I was unable to do that. And it's heartbreaking to me. And, as he was suffering, because he did suffer for a significant period of time before he passed. And it's life's short, and don't wait till tomorrow, because we don't know when it's going to be over. And for me and my brother, it was over way too soon. And it's tough, because I think for me, I can move on from his passing. I can be in a better place for that. But one of the hardest parts for me is the what could have been, and what the future may have held for his and I relationship, for his relationship with anybody, not even just me, his family, his friends, his ability to continue to live his life and to hopefully grow like we all do as we hopefully age and learn and get more wisdom. And the saddest thing for me, as it is for anybody, even people that I don't know, especially when they pass way too soon, is the either what could have been or what the future held, or simply just the memories that are not going to be created anymore. The new memories, holiday spent together, time spent together as a family, laughing, crying, whatever that is, just time. And I've always tried with my kids to make sure that I try to do every day by day, because they grow up so fast. And I don't always succeed, but with my brother passing, it's just a constant reminder to do that. And like I said, if you have someone out there that you haven't reached out to in a while that you're close to, please do so. And don't let it slide. Don't say I'll do it next week or I'll do it tomorrow. Do it now. Again, my brother Jason Goicuria passed away on September 12th, 2022 at the age of 48 years old. He was 2 months shy, or 3 months shy of his 49th birthday. This birthday in December, he would have been 50 years old. And like I said, I can't believe it's been a year since he's passed. And like I said, it's been hard, ups and downs, some sad days, some happy days, but I miss him very much. I know he, as I posted when he passed away, he's never the sentimental one. Definitely not. He's not the sentimental one. But he knew he was loved. He knew his family loved him. He loved us. He told me he loved me at the end. And I will always have that, and I will always cherish that he knew he was loved and that he loved us back. And that gives me great solace, even though, again, it's heartbreaking, and it's a waste that he's not here anymore. And I have those memories of growing up with him, and the memories of the good times that we shared. And like I said, the memories of the movies that we watched, the movies that we talked about, the sports that we watched, the sports that we talked about. Teasing my mom, teasing my late grandmother, laughing. All those times that I have in my memory that will always be there is the thing that gets me through the rougher parts of this, the darker parts of this. And I am extremely grateful, and it makes me grateful for my life, for my family, for my wife, for my kids. Those things that keep me alive, those things that keep me happy and keep my life fulfilled. And I am extremely grateful for all of that. And I'm extremely grateful that I had a brother. My wife always, she tells me, and my wife was an only child, and I know for her that's something that bothered her a lot. She has a sister, and Christine, who's her cousin, but is basically her sister. But I know my wife helped me understand about taking a sibling for granted, in the sense that I didn't see what the big deal was that she was an only child. But she really helped me to understand, and this is before my brother passed, how meaningful to your life having a sibling is. And I was fortunate enough to be one of those people that did have a sibling, and through our ups and downs, through our differences in personality, I'm forever grateful that I did have a sibling. I'm forever grateful that we did connect on some very deep things. Maybe didn't connect on some other things that I wish we had more, but I am forever grateful that my brother was here, and I am forever grateful that I got to spend 48 years with him. And it's not long enough, but I am grateful, because a lot of people don't get that much time with their loved ones. They get a lot less. And I am extremely, extremely grateful that I had that time. And I miss him every day. And I am proud to have been his brother. And I appreciate everyone that's watching and listening to this podcast. I'm going to sign off. Again, Akira, 4 stars out of 5, in honor of my late brother, Jason Goicuria. Take care, everybody.